have a minute here while people are coming online. Go ahead and just let me know where you're zooming in from. Share your name and where you're coming in from. Hi, Tammy from Memphis, and Jennifer from Maryland, and Galaxy from Arizona, and Air J. I don't know if I'm going to say that right. Air J from California, or RJ. Rick's from Canada. And Tammy's here from Saskatchewan in Canada, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. I love that. I'm gonna have to ask you about that, Tammy. Okay, and Deborah, it actually didn't say where you're here from, but that's okay. Shelly's here from Tucson. RJ, okay, thank you, RJ. And Christy from Arizona, Deb from Wyoming, Judy from Canada, Rodrigo from Canada, a bunch of Canadians. Awesome. Welcome, welcome, Canadians. So glad you're here. And Teresa's here from Oregon. Excellent. So, all right. So I'm going to just go ahead and get us started and officially started. So I'm Maggie Ostara, and I'm delighted to be welcoming you here to Inner Guidance by Design, activating the superpowers of your intuition. And intuition is a huge part of human design. And it is a huge part of our birthright that for a lot of us, we have gotten disconnected from and haven't maybe gotten fully reconnected to. I got disconnected as a kid, and it's taken me decades to really get reconnected. And I continue to develop more and more layers. So you're here in the right place if you are desiring to have that sense of inner guidance that you can really rely on. Okay. All right. So I want to start out by just asking you, have you been feeling confused or overwhelmed or at the mercy of forces outside of yourself? I mean, that would make sense, right? Things feel really big in the world right now. I mean, the pandemic and the lockdown that happened and the impact on many people's jobs and businesses and so on, huge, unprecedented, certainly in my lifetime. So I get that feeling of having been pushed around by things that are bigger than us. And then there are the things that kind of the pandemic pushed to the side, but are actually even bigger issues in the pandemic, things like climate change, right? And global pollution and the extinction of, many, many animal species and all kinds of species like every day. So these are big challenges that we have in our world right now. So if you've been feeling any of that, can you just say, like, have you been feeling the stress of that? Just put stress in the chat. Because I think that we spend a lot of our time doing our best to manage the stress of this situation, whether that is streaming entertainment, right? Which I certainly do too. Stream entertainment, whether we overeat, that's a favorite habit of many people talking about their COVID-20, right? Or whether that's alcohol or cannabis or something else in that area that can be mind altering, right? We find ways to manage. Some people use sex, some people over-exercise. There's all different ways that we learn to manage our stress. Yes. So only 4 of you are experiencing any stress. Seriously, people, I have a feeling that there's probably more of you out there that are experiencing stress than that. So yeah, we do this because these issues seem bigger than we can handle. And I totally understand that. And I'm wondering, are you like longing for more clarity, for more purpose, for more confidence, for a sense of certainty, like a deep feeling that, okay, I know why I'm here. I know what my contribution is. I know that I can have the life that I want to, even in the midst of these challenges. And I can make the contribution that I came here to make. Are these things that you are longing for? When I do readings for people and when people come into my coaching practice, these are the kinds of things that I hear a lot, that there is this deep desire to know, okay, yes, shit's happening out there in the world. But I can play a role in this. I don't have to just hide from it. I don't have to just be streaming my entertainment, so that I don't have to pay attention to what's going on. So, just put in, yes, if you're feeling like you want to, part of the reason you want to get tapped into your inner guidance is that you want to know how to be more on purpose. You want to know how to be more confident. You want to know how to get clarity and direction that you can count on. Is this resonating for you? Just let me know with a yes in the chat. I'm checking out what you're saying over here. Yeah. 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 Am I on my best path? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. Okay. Yes. Number of yeses are coming in here. And yeah. And we've got people coming in with stress. Yes. Human design has helped a lot, but I'm called to it at an even higher level of intuition. Yes, absolutely. I totally get it. And the thing I want to say is that I don't think that there's any end to the level of development we can have with our inner guidance and our intuition. I don't think that we're going to get to a place where we're like, okay, I'm done with that. I've learned everything there is to learn. I've grown all the way that there is to grow. There isn't any more for me. I mean, and that personally, that excites me because I want to go on growing through my whole life. Yeah. Right. Yes. But at the same time, feeling called to be and do more. Yeah, exactly. But then the question is to do and be what, right? Like, where do we put our attention? Where do we put our energy? And I do think that this is something that human design is really, really helpful with us to discern, because as we are looking to activate our superpowers, right? As we're learning to do that, we understand that power needs to be directed, right? But power requires discernment, because if we don't, for one thing, our inner power can run us around. I know any of you have been following me for very long. Have heard me talk about this. I talk about it in pretty much every webinar. Is that we have so much power, and that we're not aware of, and we're not managing, and we're not directing, we're not harnessing the way that we could. Then we get thrown around by it. And we don't want that, right? We want to be able to understand what our power is and to harness it so that we can direct it where we will, rather than being at the mercy of it. And I really believe that one of the reasons we feel so at the mercy of things that we think are outside of ourselves is that we're not in touch, not fully in touch with our own superpowers. And we're not fully in touch with our intuition and our inner guidance. And we don't necessarily know how to grab a hold of it and harness it and direct it the way that we do. And so then we feel at the mercy at things that are going on, actually even inside of us. For those of you who have heard me talk about my open throat before, right? I felt like my open throat was in charge of me. I didn't know that that's what it was until I came to human design. But I thought that there were just these things that I would do that, or, I would blurt things, or I would ramble, or I would say inappropriate things, not really even knowing why, because I didn't know how to harness all the power that came into my open throat when I was around a bunch of people. And that's what would happen, is I would come around a bunch of people, and all of a sudden I was off all this energy coming into my throat, and I didn't know how to manage it. So it would actually direct me, and then I would feel that I'm at the mercy of something I didn't understand. Maybe you can relate to something like that. Go ahead and put relate in the chat if that's something that you can relate to. Okay, just gonna take a look at my notes for a second. Okay, so I want you to imagine for a moment, if you were so aligned with your human design, with your inner being, with your heart of hearts, with your soul purpose and your life purpose, if you were so aligned that you had clarity, you had confidence, you had the experience of synchronicities arising in your life on a regular basis, that opportunities were arriving for you, they were showing up for you seemingly by magic, that the resources you need in your life are becoming available to you. Doesn't mean you might not have to work for them sometimes, but the way that the resources that you need to have the life of purpose that you really desire become available to you. So just take a moment what that would mean for you if you had that experience. Cool, right? That really is what's possible in my experience, both for myself and with my clients, when you get really in touch and you begin to believe in your superpowers and you practice and you live according to your design. Yeah. And that's what fires me up. That's what fires me up. I imagine it fires you up too. Yes, 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 I relate. Yes, relate. That's my dream. Relevant. Yes. Want to live fully my design as a projector. Success. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So I want to do just a quick poll here so that I can get a sense of who's here with me. So just go ahead and select your human design type. If you don't know, that's fine. Just put it in that I don't know. Let's just see who's here today. All right. Give you another second here. Yeah, Tammy, cannot imagine, want to imagine. Yeah, you know, Tammy, your ability to imagine is one of your superpowers, right? It is your birthright as part of your creativity. It's a huge part of your intuition. So I want to support you to unleash that for yourself. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. All right. So we've got 32% pure generators, 18% manifesting generators, not that many manifesting generators, 18% projectors, which is about what we've got in the population, manifestors 9%, spot on, and I don't know. Okay, great. So let me show, I need to share that so you guys can see it. So that's our results for here today. And for those of you who don't know, we are going to do a little exercise. And I want you to not get worried about this if you don't know what your type is. Okay. I think I have more. Maybe not. Okay, that's cool. If you've got questions, I would say put your comments over. Yeah, some of you are putting comments here into the Q&A. Put them into the chat because that's where I will see them more, okay? Great. All right, perfect. So let's take a baseline here, all right? So I want you to tune in here for a moment to how are you feeling about your connection with your inner guidance, okay? And I want you to come up with some feeling words, okay? And I want you just to pop them in the chat if you're willing, okay? So it could be that you're satisfied, you could be excited, but you could be confused, you could be frustrated, you could feel like it's mysterious, they could be doubtful, you could be uncertain, or you could be like confident or relaxed. You know, so what are the feelings that you have about your connection to your inner guidance? Okay, go ahead and pop those in the chat when you get it. Just don't think about it too much. Just pop it out. Confident, good. Foggy, sure. Skeptical, not wanting to trust it, uncertain. That's really, really common. Generally satisfied, excited but confused, and in place, okay, sporadic, inconsistent. Yep. Surrendered, quiet, trust, but can I pay the bills with it? I hear you, unsure, not certain. I can trust it, you know, not used consistently. I think not being able to trust and not knowing for certain are key components, uncertain. Okay, so just give yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust your inner guidance? Give yourself a scale, you know, just a number. This is not a test. Okay. 9, 9, 8, 8, 4, 6. Okay, cool. 6, 8, 5. Okay, great. 6 to 7. Okay. And give yourself a number for how much you rely on your inner guidance, how much you actually use it. Again, scale 1 to 10. How much do you rely on your inner guidance? 3, 7, 6, 10, 8, 8. Okay, great. Oh dear, not enough. 4. Yeah. So these numbers are a little bit lower, which is interesting, right? And I think that this is really, less than 3. I think this is really common that sometimes, either we don't trust it. We don't know what it is. We don't know how to trust it. And even if we do think we trust it, we don't necessarily rely on it, which is interesting, right? When it comes to the rubber hits the road, do we actually utilize it? Okay. And I want you to consider for a moment here, what is it costing you, do you think, to not rely on it? What do you think it's costing you? Right? What do you think is what you're losing out on if you are not relying on it, if you're not trusting on it and not relying on it? Okay. So joy, sanity, authentic life, mistakes. Oh my God, it's what has already cost me. Yeah. Health, finances, energy, family connection, purpose. And what's the worst that can happen if I rely on it? Yes, thank you. I think I'm relate to things, and I think others are suffering as well. So damn much. It got me where I'm unhappily lost. Truths. Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. The reason I'm bringing all this up is I want to break the habit of simply providing information to you and you consuming information. Okay, because we've all been conditioned to be consumers. We live in a consumer society, and it's what our economy is based on, unfortunately. And yet consuming information does not on its own create understanding or knowledge or wisdom, and it certainly doesn't bring about change or transformation. We have got to digest what we learn and bring it into our own lives. We have to apply it and integrate it in order for it to be useful, right? Otherwise, it's just more data. And who needs more data? I mean, we are awash in data. So I could spend the whole time together today filling you up with more information about human design. But I've seen that doesn't really work all that well to help people create the change that they want in their lives. And I'm assuming that you're here today because you believe having greater access to and belief in your inner guidance and being able to rely on it would improve your life. So I'm assuming that. So put improve into the chat if you agree. Are you here because you want to improve your life? You want to transform your life in some way, rather than just getting more information. And you can put information in there if all you're really looking for is information. Okay. Yes, improve, 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 improve. Yes, thank you. The people that I tend to attract are people who are on a spiritual growth path and a transformational path. Yes. Yes, sounds great. Improve, even better, always getting better. Yes, exactly. So I want to help you get present to your desire for this connection to your inner guidance, your desire for your ability to rely on it, for you to know that it is there for you and that it can be a superpower for you. Okay, to get present to that desire for it, and also to get present to the discomfort that you're having, which you just started to talk about, right? About not being certain, about feeling foggy, about not trusting it, right? Does this make sense to you? Like there's is there a gap here between fully feeling confident and being able to rely on your inner guidance all day, every day, 24/7, 365, and how you're feeling right now. Okay. Go ahead and put gap in the chat if you're feeling like there's a gap between there. What is that gap? And what does that gap feel like to you? Right? I want you to just tune into that. Because I know for me, when I do an exercise like this and I tune into the gap between where I am and where I want to be, you know, it sometimes it hurts in my heart. Sometimes it hurts in my belly. Sometimes I have a little bit of a sense of despair. Sometimes I get excited because I'm like, oh, okay, the gap is here. Now, how do I close the gap? So what are you guys feeling about this? Gap, chasm, lots of echoes. Yeah. I fear the radical shift and risk it requires to follow my intuition. I'm in that gap right now. Yes, exactly. Disconnected or out of reach, frustrated, big gap due to timeline and work high. Yep, gap. Yeah, exactly. And so and the thing I want you to know is you don't need to know how to close that gap. But my question for you is, how committed are you to actually accessing and honoring and utilizing that inner intuition, your inner guidance, and activating and using the superpower of your intuition? Now, you don't have to know how to do it, okay? You don't have to know I don't know how to do it for you right now. But what I do know how to do is how to help guide you so that you can experience closing the gap. And what I do know is that giving you all of the information in the world, and I've already created a ton of free information that you can consume at any time on my YouTube channel. I know a bunch of you have. It's not going to get what you want if you're not committed to having the life that you want and making the necessary changes to bring that into being. So let me just ask you, how committed are you to closing the gap? Even though you don't know how, even though it's not going to happen in this moment, but just give yourself, you can either just pop committed into there or give yourself a number from 1 to 10, 10 being 100% committed, 1 being like, how committed are you to that? Because that's what's going to actually enable you to take any of the information and the exercise that I have for you here today, to be able to take that and make it real in your life. My experience is, and you can check this against your own experience. And I know this from my own behavior as well as what I've seen, doing webinars and teaching for years now, is a lot of people just take information and it just kind of comes in one ear and out the other. It kind of goes, and it doesn't transform their lives unless they make the decision and they have a commitment to say, yeah, I am going to grab a hold of this opportunity and I'm going to use it to change my life. So how committed are you? Okay, so we've got 100% committed, waves increasing in intensity, and I think it means something good is coming, but it's painful physically and mentally. I hear you, Tammy. Committed, 100%, yes. Committed to honoring my intuition. A 6, that's honest. Committed to learning how to relax, to just be retired as a generator. I hear you. Okay. Faced with intuition saying to walk away from your job, but nothing else is lined up. So I'm committed because it is, but it's scary. I hear you. And the thing is that I want to say, just responding to this, Deborah, that you're saying that, because you bring up a really good point, just because you have an intuition that you need to make a change, just because you get an inner sense of certainty, like, yeah, let's say you have a toxic job. I remember somebody else saying earlier on that they were in a toxic job situation. And so you get the clarity, I need to change this. It doesn't mean you have to quit your job that day or the next day or even the next week, because then what you can do is start turning into the inner guidance about, okay, now how do I change the situation? So that you can get guidance about how to do that without the huge stress you would feel if you just quit your job, which is is totally stressful. I have done it before, but I don't really recommend it. And not unless it's really abusive. And then I do recommend it. Okay. So committed, 100%, 100%. Great. All right. Perfect. So your commitment is what is actually going to carry you through to being able to make the change that you want, to be able to improve your life the way that you want. And that anytime that you start to step away from that, you can remind yourself about this commitment. Okay. And we're going to do an exercise in a minute that is, in a couple minutes, which is going to help you to walk through this process of activating your superpowers that you can then use to apply anywhere that you want to, in terms of your human design. So I want to just go through a few of the things that I told you we'd be covering in this class. Okay, so I mentioned that there are 3 pitfalls that I see over and over again that get in people's way of being able to really access and use their intuition. Okay, so one is trying to figure out things with your mind alone. Now, your mind is a great servant, but it's a terrible master. I'm sure that you've heard that from other people before, right? But I can't even tell you how often I hear the phrase, I'm trying to figure this out, figure it out, figure it out, figure it out, right? The thing is the mind can be a great ally and servant in this. But what we always say in human design is that you never make decisions with your mind, right? Your mind isn't designed to make decisions. Another pitfall is following other people's formulas or asking and taking advice from other people without tuning in to see what's true for you, to seeing if those formulas or the advice that you're getting is relevant for you, right? That you're outsourcing your power to other people, giving them your power, and then going, oh, okay, I better do what they tell me to do. Right? We do this all the time. We were taught to do this in many, many years of school. So it's not surprising that we do it, but it does take us away from our inner guidance that we then sometimes are not even be able to hear. And the third pitfall is discarding your hunches, your insights, your intuition, because they don't make sense. Right? They don't make sense. They're not logical. They're not rational. They're not reasonable. And they're not going to be, because they're not going to be coming in through the logic circuit in the human design. Like, they're not logical. They're coming in from your connection to super consciousness and through your right brain. And that's where your intuition and your creativity and your inner guidance comes from. It doesn't come through logic. Okay. You can be inspired through the logic circuit. You can have curiosity, you can have your imagination stimulated, but that's not where your intuition is, okay? And the number one, and we've already seen this here in what you've shared today, I was just looking for confirmation of this. The number one obstacle for you is your lack of belief and trust in what it is that you're receiving, okay? Now, the number one thing you can do to step out of this sense of overwhelm, this uncertainty, this, I don't know, I don't know, I don't trust it, is to slow down, to calm down, to tune out of the outer world and what's going on out there, and to tune into your inner world so that you have guidance available within you. When you can tune your ear, I'm very auditory, I'm not visual. So for me, it's always about listening, tuning my ear. But for some of you, you're very visual. So it's tuning inside and receiving images, receiving whole thought forms, right? And for all of us to be receiving downloads, to be getting inspirations, to have insights that are coming in. But we have to slow down and we have to calm down and we have to come inside in order to be able to do that. Yeah. So I want to go ahead and just type in resonate if that resonates for you in the chat. This piece about needing to slow down, come inside. Because our world does not support us to do this, right? Our world does not support us to do this. Yeah, resonate. Great. Yeah, exactly. I think I would say the thing that has helped me the most to really be able to trust my intuition and my inner guidance and to tap into it is this process of slowing down, calming down, tuning inside. I practice Kundalini yoga myself and the meditation that goes with that. There's many pathways that you can use to get there. I did this with dance for a long time. I still do it with dance to a degree, but we haven't had much dance since COVID hit. There's many pathways to getting in there. Okay. But just remembering and making it a priority. All the pressures in your life are going to be telling you not to do that. I know because it happens to me every day, but making that commitment. Yes. Yes. Slowing down is actually what my therapist told me to do. Exactly. Okay. I want to share my screen with you for a few things. Okay. Because here's the thing, intuition is all over the human design chart, okay? It's everywhere. And I could spend days teaching you about all of the different places where intuition lies in the chart, but I want to just give you some examples. Okay, so this is the knowing circuit. You can see this is the largest subcircuit in the human design chart. It's a big circuit, right? It encompasses all, it touches all of the centers except for the will center, but it touches every single other one. And it's this big circuitry that goes all the way around the outside and up through the middle, it goes all the way through the central channel. So the knowing circuit is huge, and there are many different parts. So the 57, the gate 57, is known as the most intuitive gate in the chart. But because it's on the spleen, it's also a fear gate. It's the fear of the future. So yes, it is intuition, but you have to know how to use that intuition. Otherwise, you can be mired in fear. Okay. And that you believe that that's your intuition, but it's not. It's an instinctual fear that is leading you somewhere. Okay. So all of these gates in the knowing circuit, they're all intuitive gates. I personally have the 61 and the 43 and the 12 and the 57 and the 38 and the 39 and the 28. I have a lot of the knowing circuit. This is like my biggest superpower, really, is the knowing circuit and the different gates that are a part of it. And of course, the channels also contribute to this too. But I just want to let you know there's so many different places for you to tune into. And I would encourage you to go and check out, like, what of this knowing circuit do you have defined in your chart? Now, having said that, let me remind you that you have access to the entire chart, whether it's defined, which means colored in your chart or not. Okay. So for me, these are all really important gates. You may have different ones. So you can check that out. This is the sensing circuit. Which is really the right brain. It's the right brain, left side of the body. So that downloads come in here through the 6427, come down and around, and then back up through this central channel in the sensing circuit. Now, this is a great example of inner guidance, because like I said, this is right brain activity. It's creative, it's abstract. It has this connection with the all that is. It's not boundaried. It's more about oneness, whereas like the left brain and the logic circuit is individuated and focused, whereas the right brain is much more expansive. If you know things about the right brain, left brain, it kind of maps onto this pretty well. And so it's not rational, it's not reasonable, it's not logical, but being able to tap into this, it's embodied, it's experiential, it's being able to kind of feel life, right? It's somatic, you feel it through the body. This is totally part of your inner guidance and your superpower. Now, the thing I want to say is that you don't have to have this defined in your chart, just like you don't have to have any of it defined in your chart in order to feel it. Like, I only have the 13 defined in my chart. Everything else is open in the sensing circuit, but I have developed so many of the qualities of the sensing circuit through my life experience. And so everything in the human design chart is actually available to you through your life experience. But the parts that are defined are probably going to be more, you're going to be more familiar with them. Yeah, I think that's what I want to say about that. This, for example, this is the 51. It's part of the centering circuit, but I just wanted to pull out this one gate. This gate is a highly intuitive gate. It's known in traditional human design as the gate of shock. It's also the gate of initiation. So it's about our ability to initiate ourselves in and others into higher consciousness. But if we're expressing the lower part, the lower energy of this shocking energy, or we're attracting shocking energy, it doesn't feel like a superpower. It doesn't feel like inner guidance. But when we're able to grab a hold of this energy, I also have this defined in my chart. This is one of those energies that can move you around, like if you don't, so that you can be attracting shock from the outside. And you're like, what's going on? Why am I having these shocking experiences? Why do people talk to me that way? Or why do these things happen all of a sudden, right? Why is this so stressful for me? Well, the 51 can do that if you don't know how to grab a hold of it and harness it and direct it the way that you want to. But that's what's possible when you come to understand these elements of your human design. And this is true for all of these different things that I'm talking about. Here's an example of the emotional solar plexus. Now I have it colored in here, but the thing I want to say about it is when it's open. So if it's white in your chart, like it's open in my chart, 50% of us have it open. It can become a very intuitive energy for you because it's picking up on other people's emotional tone. And it can give you a lot of information about what's going on in your environment. And that can give you an intuitive sense about how people are feeling. This is kind of, when you have this open, it makes you a true empath because you can feel what's going on with other people emotionally. Now, you need to have good boundaries with this, not to be just, again, feel like you're at the mercy of things that are outside of you, like other people's emotions, right? But when you do grab a hold of it and you know how to utilize it, then it can become just hugely beneficial. I know for me, this is one of the things that is a superpower for me as I'm working with clients, because I can feel so much. I actually have 5 open centers, so I have a lot that I can use to feel with other people. Your openness can be a huge superpower for you when you know how to use it. Then there's also strategy by type. So if you know your human design type, I hope you know your strategy. And then you also have an authority. Now, we don't have enough time today to go through all of the different strategies and all of the different authorities. But I want to just mention that these are also places for intuition for you. So for example, I am a generator. I'm a pure generator. For generators and manifesting generators, our strategy by type is to respond. Okay, it's to respond. It's to be engaged with the flow of life, with what is happening around us, and to be in a dynamic relationship with the energies that are happening around us. Okay, and in order to do that, we need to tune inside and be paying attention to what's happening outside. It's not logical. It's not reasonable. It's not rational. It's totally in a different realm, if you will, than what we often think of in terms of how we engage with life. For me, this was something I rejected initially when I learned human design. Then for me, for those of us who are generators, 70% of us are generators, so it's most of us, our authority is our sacral authority. Now, if you're emotionally defined, you have to take account of your emotional wave. But for most of us, but we still have to, our sacral is our authority. It's our gut feeling. It's our to different things. And I feel it often in the way that my body moves because I'm very embodied. And so the way that my sacral will respond a lot of times is It's like I can feel it in my whole body, or That is a form of inner guidance. It's a form of intuition. Okay. So I want to just stop for a second here. And I want to check in with you guys. Is this making sense to you, what I'm talking about intuition being all over the chart? Is this making sense to you? Okay, so you can see how I can't teach you all these things about all of these pieces of intuition here on in this particular class. But what I want to do is I want to inspire you to be like, wow, human design can show me so many different ways and so many different qualities of inner guidance. See, this is one of the things I love. Like when you learn that 51, right? That one I was talking about, the gate of shock, which is also initiation. When you learn about that, and you could start to utilize that energy. I use it all the time working with my clients because I'm initiating them into higher consciousness. When I do readings for people, I take on that energy as initiating people into new perspectives, new awarenesses, new possibilities that they hadn't occurred to them before, right? That's also that 51 energy. Okay, yes, this makes total sense. I'm working hard and dealing with the energy I receive as an empath. I often get pain in that exact spot, right? So you have to learn how to have good boundaries and also how to let go of other people's energy when it comes your way. Okay, yes. Do I teach anything on the specific types of intuition associated with centers? Yes, I do. Especially, obviously, the spleen, because the spleen is a center for instinct, right? And it's known as a center for intuition, but it's a little bit tricky. Actually, most of the centers, when I do teaching on the center, so my Activate Your Superpowers class, which I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes, and I'm going to invite you to join me for that. I do teach about all of the centers and all of the superpowers associated with the centers. And a lot of those are in the realm, they're all inner guidance of a certain point. Okay. Splenic intuition. Yeah. Yeah. But the spleen is tricky, folks, because all of the gates on the spleen are fear gates. And I have worked with lots of people who have gotten challenged by that because they think that the fear is intuition. That is what freaks me out. I have 6 splenic gates, right? So Deborah, the thing is that when you learn what those gates are about, what their more awakened qualities are, then you can make sure that you are aligning more with their awakened qualities than you are with their more shadow qualities, which are the fear qualities. I hope that makes sense to you. Well, there's actually quite a bit of information out there about that. You just need to get, get tuned into the gates. I mean, if you don't have Understanding Human Design by my mentor, Karen Curry Parker, she goes through all the gates in this particular book. And I also give everybody this book who enrolls in my Activating Your Superpowers class. I give everybody this book. Unless they already have it, and then I give them the Quantum Human. Okay, so now the other way you can find out about your gates is that when I do my updates every week on Wednesdays, I do it on Facebook and on Instagram, and then I put them onto YouTube. I always talk about the 2 gates that the sun and the earth are in. So over the course of the year, I'm going to be going through all of the gates. Okay, so that's one thing, but also this is a great reference. Okay, this is a great reference. So I would check it out if you don't already have it, or come join my Activate Your Superpowers class, and you'll get one as a bonus. Okay, so what I want to do here, there's 2 things, and we're going to go until about quarter after the hour, so just about 75 minutes. It's my favorite amount of time. I want to just see here. Okay, so I just had a few examples. All right, so I'm gonna not share for the examples. All right, so I wanna tell you about 3 different clients and students that I've had that are, that have really leaned into their commitment to close that gap between the discomfort that they have with the way that their lives were and their desire for their lives to be the way that they wanted them to be. So the first one, her name is Mesa, and she both did the Activate Your Superpowers class. She also was a private client of mine. And one of her big challenges was just being really conditioned in her life to pay more attention to other people's needs than her own. How many of you can resonate with that? Just put resonate in the chat if you if you resonate with that. I think most women are trained to be that way. And a lot of guys also, frankly. And so what happens is you get really attuned. She also has an open emotional solar plexus, just she could feel what was going on. So she developed great survival strategies of knowing how to keep the peace, of knowing how to negotiate, making sure everybody knew what they wanted, you know, what they needed, make sure everybody was okay. So much so that she didn't have any idea what was going on inside. She didn't know what she wanted. She didn't know what she needed. She was not tuned into that, okay? Her attention was all moving outside. It wasn't on the inside. And so in the course of taking the Activate Your Superpowers class, and then when we did as we did our coaching together, she developed her own way of tuning into her inner guidance using morning pages. If any of you know that practice from, oh God, it's blank. I'm blanking on it. It'll come to me. But anyway, morning pages where you write every morning, tuning into yourself. Julia Cameron. Yes, it's like, what is the name of the book? I'm sorry. This is a little brain fart here. She also started doing yoga. I gave her some Kundalini yoga practices to do. She started dancing, and all of those things, the artist way, there we go, was to help her to get connected on the inside. And what happened was she started creating more boundaries at work. She started saying no more. She started making her own needs her priority. She carved out time every day to be tuning into what was true for her, so that her inner guidance was able to direct her to what she wanted and what she needed. And she's in the middle, you know, she's preparing for a career change. She's kind of done with the career she's been doing. She's been doing trainings to help her to move into this one. And so she's got a lot more confidence, clarity, certainty about where she's going. Doesn't mean she doesn't ever have moments of confusion or overwhelm, but she knows what to do when that happens, okay? And that was all from being able to identify her superpowers, release what was in the way of them, and then practice using them in her life. Aileen also took the Activate Your Superpowers class. She is a super powerful woman, has a super powerful chart. And she was someone who had been giving away really her superpowers to the people that she worked for. She ran businesses for people. She was highly skilled, and it just never occurred to her that she should get paid more, or she should get more validation, or she should be recognized or acknowledged more. She just thought, well, this is just the way that it is. You know, you work for somebody, you go and you do your job and blah, blah, blah. And I just said, wow, you are so incredibly valuable. Like, what, you know, looking at her chart. And what happened is that she started to see herself in a new way as she began to really see the way that her chart reflected back to her what her power was. And she received this validation about who she is and what she was providing. She actually got fired from her job because people began to realize that they were too dependent on her. And I also think it was one of those vibrational things, because she started to own her power more, and she didn't belong in that place anymore. And now what's happened is she had, you know, kind of a side gig of her own healing work. But now that's what she's doing, is doing her own healing work. And it's really taken off because she has a much deeper sense of who she is and this validation of her superpowers. And she knows how to tune in to get the guidance that she needs. And then the last example is a woman named Natalie. She actually took a different class with me, Messaging Made Easy with Human Design. But then but in that class, we also talked about superpowers, because I always do. And when she came to me, she's a projector who just has 2 centers defined. And she always had thought that she was weak and that she didn't really have much to offer because she has 7 centers open. And I helped her to see that. I was like, no, your open centers are really a lot of your superpowers, because you get to feel all of the different ways that these centers can be defined because of all the different people that you're around. And then you get to be at choice with what are the energies you want to experience in those centers. And she said it completely changed her whole way of experiencing her life, to own that her openness was not a liability, because that's the way a lot of traditional human design is taught. It's the way Ra taught it a lot, is that your openness are liabilities. There's places where you're kind of at the mercy of other energies coming towards you all the time. And I'm like, well, okay, it depends on how you hold that energy. It depends on how good your boundaries are, for one thing. And it depends on how good you are at being able to, you know, how you know your human design. Okay, so yes, openness is amazing. Exactly. Yes, so powerful. Ask an aware reflector. Exactly. Yes, aware reflectors, man, amazing. They can kind of influence an entire room. I have 7 open centers also, but it seems like a lifelong journey. Well, yeah, because you didn't get taught how to do that. I've not found anyone who explains human design in a way that resonates so much. I'm so glad, Michelle. I love how you describe the charts and the nuances. So grateful. Love the superpowers concept. Yeah. Yes. Softer, more sacred feminine way. Absolutely. Yay. Thank you. All right. I want to do a little exercise with you. Okay. Because I want you to just kind of get this in your cells a little bit. Okay. Now, I want you, I'm going to suggest that you use your strategy for this. So for those of you who are generators and manifesting generators, that's going to be your sacral authority. For those of you who are projectors, I'm just going to say it's you're talking things out, because that's generally true for projectors, is they need to talk things through. And then for manifestors, you get a creative impulse from whatever center, whatever motor goes to your throat. So whether that is coming from your will center or your emotional solar plexus, or from your root via your spleen, whatever that is, you're going to get a creative impulse that way. Okay. And for reflectors, you're going to be receiving it from the environment around you. And yes, you need to tune in over the course of a moon, right? But you're tuning in to what's happening, and you're reflecting what's happening in your community. Okay. So what I want you to do is just grab a hold of your strategy for a minute. And I want to talk to you about how do you really activate this, okay? Because one of the things that people have asked me is, how do you really activate your superpowers? So I want to lead you through this. I actually have a slide for this. Oops. Move this out of the way. There we go. Okay. So the first thing in activating your superpowers is identify what they are, okay? And that's what we do in the Activate Your Superpowers class, is we go through all of the core components of the human design chart, and we identify what your superpowers are, okay? Then, so for you right now, it's your strategy, okay? Let's just say it's your strategy. And so explore your current relationship to your strategy. Okay. And so how much do you use your strategy? Do you use your strategy most of the time, some of the time? How much do you trust it, right? What's your current relationship with your strategy? So just take a moment and tune into that. I'm going to take a sip. And tune in. Is there anything that's in the way, it's blocking or limiting your relationship with your strategy? Like for me, I just didn't believe it when it was like, when I first learned that I was designed to respond, I was like, what are you talking about? I've been initiating my whole life. Turns out that's why I burned myself out so many times, but I didn't know that. And my attachment I had to initiating. I'm an Aries sun. I thought, well, of course I'm meant to initiate. What I just realized recently is that actually, even in springtime, like the way that, plants begin to bloom and that whole that I just thought of myself as, being in Aries, that was my role, being the beginning of the astrological year. But it's actually all responding to what's happening with the earth and the sun and the changes of the earth and the sun. Everything that's happening on the planet in spring is responding to this cosmic energy, right? And so that's what responding is as generators and manifesting generators. Okay. So look at your attachment to what might be in the way of you fully utilizing your strategy. Then to really activate the superpower of your strategy is you need to make a new choice. You need to make a new choice to actually use your strategy. Then you need to practice it and practice its awakened aspect. Okay? Because I could take responding in the shadow aspect or the disempowered aspect by watching the news all the time and responding to the news all the time and allowing it to consume me and make me deeply afraid, right? That's not empowering. I'm not going to do that if I want to be healthy and strong, right? Does that make sense? So you want to think about how can I express the awakened aspect of my strategy? Then you're going to need to do this after, right? But it's to track your experience. How is that going, right? How is it going? When did I use it? When did I not use it? When I used it, how did that go? What happened? So you want to track your experience and then adjust it as needed. And to get back on track when you wander away, because we all wander away, just like we do when we meditate. We wander away and we're thinking about what we're going to do tomorrow or what the conversation we had, right? But then we come back, right? We come back. And then to stay awake and aware and to be accountable. So this is how we activate our superpowers. This is how we activate our superpowers. So share with me how you feel about this, about your strategy. No, I mean, oh, you know what? Yeah, Deborah, you said that. Yeah, I mean, authority. Yeah, wait for the, you're right. I was talking about authority. Yeah. Okay. Yes, there will be a replay for the rest of this because I know some of you need to jump off. Okay. Waiting for a reason, your mom's voice, I hear you. Don't trust what I feel to be real or me manipulating myself. Okay. Too slow usually. Okay. So too slow, isn't that interesting? Because we have a fast, 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 fast. Okay. So, so what I want to say is, what would it be like to be able to trust your strategy and your authority and all of your human design? What would that really be like for you? What would it be like for you to know how to tap into that inner guidance? Like for me, it took a fair amount of practicing for me to be able to really trust both my sacral authority and my ability to respond, right? And I've talked to people who are like, I've been waiting for something to respond to, or projectors waiting for something, you know, for an invitation for like a year. I'm like, you know what? They come much more rapidly than that. Sometimes for projectors, for big invitations, it takes longer. It's all about your vibration. But for you to be really in alignment with those core pieces, yes, patience is not easy for a worker, controller, generator. Yeah, you know, I have to tell you, patience has been one of my biggest life lessons. I am not naturally a patient person at all. I mean, I'm really not. So, but I can tell you it's a huge superpower, patience is. And I've had to learn it the hard way. Okay, so every challenge can be transformed into an opportunity, a benefit, and even a superpower when you understand your human design and how your energies and the energies that are revealed by your let me say that again. When you understand your human design and how the energies revealed by human design work. Okay. So power requires discernment. I said that at the beginning. You need to know how to harness and direct it. So just having superpowers isn't enough, because if you don't know how to use it properly, it will use you. It'll run over you, Or if your conditioning leads you to believe that you need to control other people or you need to have power over other people, you'll use your, like the shock, you can use that shock against other people. Okay, so you need to be able to grab a hold of it and harness it and direct it in order for it to be a superpower. Now, activating your superpowers is a treasure hunt, okay? Because, you need to be able to find what are your specific superpowers. And so when I lead people through my course, Activate Your Superpowers, what they're looking for are what are the things that resonate for them. Because just because something is defined in your chart doesn't mean it can't be a superpower, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's for you, for it to be the big thing. That you also need to be looking at your life experience. So the first thing that you get is validation for what you already know. Like I know for me, to get the validation about the knowing circuit was huge for me. I really, really embraced that validation. It gave me language for the kind of intuition that I have and the kind of inner knowing, the kind of inner guidance that I had. So it gave me language and it validated for me. But then also, as you're going through your chart and you're looking at all the different pieces and you're going, oh, what's true for me? It opens up new perspectives. It helps you to see parts of yourself that you never really got before. Like maybe you kind of knew about it over here. And then when you get that new perspective, all of a sudden, new possibilities open up for you. And those new possibilities can lead you to understand and have a new self-concept of who you are. And that leads you to have new power and authority. And I don't mean authority like your authority for making decisions in human design. I mean authority and influence in your life, right? Because when you have the language to express your superpowers, when you have the validation that they're true, when you have the perspective on yourself about, wow, look at how amazing I am. Look at how, what I have to give. Look at my purpose. Look at the contribution I'm here to make, right? New possibilities open up for you. You come to understand who you are in a completely different way. And that will increase your ability to have influence in a way that you maybe have never experienced before. So I want to share with you about this Activate Your Superpowers class. And the URL for it is sovereigntybydesign.com/superpowers. This is a great class. And I want to talk about who this program is for, okay? Because this program is not going to be for everyone, but it is for those of you who really want to take a transformational approach to learning human design and not just an informational approach. Believe me, there's plenty of information in this class, but it's not its primary purpose. Its primary purpose is to help you to be able to close that gap between the discomfort that you feel about your life not being the way you want it to be, not necessarily always knowing, having your inner guidance or not trusting your inner guidance or not acting on your inner guidance. And then the life that you want to be leading, that you desire, that you know is possible, like you can feel it, it's there, but you haven't experienced it yet. You haven't gotten there yet, right? It's about helping you to close that gap so that you can really move towards experiencing that life that you want. So it's about transformation, not just about information. Now, this can be for people who are brand new to human design because it introduces you to all of the core aspects of the chart and of the system, but it's also for people who've already had some experience, but maybe they had a more negative approach to human design. I've talked to lots of people for whom that's true. Or if you really just want to go deeper to understand how can you shift the things that feel like you've probably heard me say character flaws, things that felt like liabilities into assets for sure, and even into your superpowers. You want to take on that challenge of that transformational process so that you can then really own your purpose and then make your contribution. Okay, that's really who it's for. So like I said, there's tons of information here. And so, we go over the parts of the human design chart, your authority, your strategy, your definition, and your openness, all of the types, the 9 centers, the 4 motors and motorized throats, the incarnation cross, the profiles, the 3 primary circuits, and the art of reading the chart, plus a bonus on the planets, because I've taught this class before and people really wanted to understand about the planets. So there's tons of information, okay? No shortage of that. Okay. There's 11 classes that are delivered via video training. So they're all pre-recorded. And with those, you get audios, you get slides, you get worksheets. I'm a big believer on worksheets because I want you to integrate what you learn. Okay. I don't want it just to be information going over your head and out the other side. So the value for that is $1,100 is for each of the 11 classes. Now, the laser coaching and Q&A sessions are really the heart of the course. So these have a value of $1,500, and there's 5 of them over the course from June to September. There's 2 in June. And this is where you really get my support to help you to make this transformation happen. Okay, because I know that just getting that information and even just doing the worksheets may not be sufficient. Plus, you get to learn from other people and their experiences. And a lot of times people will say to me, and they come to the end of one of these sessions, they're like, I learned so much from hearing about other people's experience. So that part is really fun. And it's deep. It's deep. Plus, you get to be witnessed by other people. So these are the sessions that really take you through that transformational process and help you to get to the other side. The total value for this course is $2,600, and the regular retail price is $597. And I am going to give you a coupon, just save $300, to take $300 off of this course, making it just $297. There's also a 3-pay, if that makes it easier for you. I don't remember exactly what they are. I think it's 3 payments of $112 or something like that. So that coupon is good for a week. Okay. So for those of you who are, or till next Monday, for those of you who are emotionally defined, you get a few days to kind of feel into this and be like, okay, yeah, this is something that I want to do, or it's not right for me. Okay. But then for those of you who are not emotionally defined and who know that, yes, this is something I want to do, I want to inspire you to go ahead and say yes now, and I'm going to give you a half-hour reading to the first 7 people who decide to join me. So what I want to just conclude this piece with, and then I will stay on for some more questions if you have them, is to say, when you do this course, okay, what you're going to walk away with is a deep sense of your own superpowers, okay, and the ability to turn those liabilities into assets and into superpowers, and to understand what that process is. Okay, so you can do it at any time with anything that you come across in your human design. You'll know how to revise and to release conditioning, those blocks or those limitations that are in the way, so that you can be more at choice, you can be more on purpose, and you can make your contribution, and you can experience that life that you really, like I said, you can feel that it's there, but it hasn't come yet. And you'll have this ready, reliable, ongoing access to that your inner guidance, and you can utilize it and you can trust it. Okay, and then imagine what it'll be like for you when your life goes that way, and you'll know deep, 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 deep inside that you are supported by the flow of life. I think that's really the biggest thing that I support everybody, and is my desire in helping all of my clients and participants in my programs and so on, is to have a deep sense that you are supported by the flow of life. And that is your inner guidance. It comes from the flow of life. It comes from super consciousness, right? It comes down through your right brain, comes down through the knowing circuit. And I believe that the big issues that we face in the world today are going to be resolved from our connection to super consciousness more than they are by what our left brain and logic and science can tell us. I do think that they're an important component, but I don't think they're the whole story. I think that we need really different ways of experiencing ourselves, experiencing each other, and relating to our planet in order for us to heal our planet and ourselves the way that we need to. So if this interests you, and, really in the end, what matters is, do you feel like I'm your person? Do you feel that I'm the person who can help you to really get human design, to help you to access your inner guidance, to come to trust it and utilize it? Am I the person that you feel you can learn from and you can be coached by? Because if I'm not, then you wouldn't want to take a class with me, right? But if you are, I really invite you projectors and encourage all the rest of you to come and join me. Okay. Thank you. I want to see if there are questions or ahas. I'd love to hear any other ahas that you have from what you learned today, but then also just any questions that you have about anything that we shared today or anything about the program that I shared. Okay. Tammy says, I'm so happy to found you. Your teaching is healing for me. All right, Carol, I'm ready to go sign up. Awesome. Registering. Oh, that's why you're quiet. Yay. All right, good. Yes, by all means, go ahead and register. I want you to get your free, I want you to get your reading. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Maggie. All right. Registering. Okay, great. Always glad to hear that. All right. Well, if you do have any other questions, please do feel free to email me. Registration is open through next week. So, and like I said, use the code SAVE300. Let me just put that in here. So you make sure that you get that, you get that bonus discount. Love your outlook on everything. Thanks, Maggie. You're welcome, Deborah. Nice to meet you. I hope you join me if you feel inspired. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up now. Thank you so much for watching Inner Guidance by Design. Activate the superpowers of your intuition. If you are inspired, I invite you to take my hand as we walk through all of the elements of the human design chart on the treasure hunt for your superpowers. You'll gain brand new perspectives all along the way, and then you'll come across these gems that are your own unique treasure. I don't know what they are right now, but you'll know them when you find them. And when you do, your life will change, just like it did for Mesa and for Aline and for Natalie, and certainly for me. So go ahead, go to sovereigntybydesign.com/superpowers and join me. Make sure to use the code SAVE300 by May 31st. Many blessings, much love. Bye for now.